In this presentation, I'll be discussing on how population growth affects housing affordability. By 2050, the world's urban population is projected to grow by 2.6 billion. Rapidly growing cities need to make room for expansion and make realistic projections on their future land needs with views on sustainable, plentiful, and affordable development. The consequences of not taking action on affordable housing leads to rental stress, overcrowding, substandard housing, social segregation, and housing insecurity. Segregation further magnifies crime, affects local businesses, employment opportunities, and other institutional resources. This creates a cycle in which crime, health, and educational problems will continue. Let's look at of how affordability is defined. A housing market is considered to be affordable when the median house price is 2 to 3 times median household income, and it's considered severely unaffordable when the median multiple is greater than 5. In a survey conducted by Demographia, Australia's median multiple was 6.4 and Sydney's 9.8, one of the most unaffordable markets. As population increases, if there is an imbalance between supply and demand of land, unaffordability creeps in. Supply may be restricted due to physical land constraints or artificially constrained by the government. City of Sydney's population has increased by over 26% since 1990 and continues to grow, putting increasing pressure on housing. The factors influencing the increase in demand are more people wishing to live in the CBD, shrinking household size, increasing incomes, increased investment due to lack of capital gains taxes on owner-occupied houses, and the ease at which people have access to credit. The downside of Sydney's planning are lack of strict state policies or legislative support from the federal government. Administrative costs while negotiating on cases are high. Insufficient communication between the 43 councils. Urban sprawl. No strong state planning framework to support affordable housing was a significant limitation. However, Sydney has a few plans to address these issues in its affordable housing in its Sydney 2030 plan. Let's investigate how other global cities tackle similar challenges. Boston, Massachusetts. The city of Boston has experienced economic growth leading to a workforce with high wages, thus increasing housing costs. The laws to generate and preserve affordable housing exists at all three levels: state, regional, and local. The few strategies introduced in Boston resulted in a supply of 12,500 new affordable units. The Anti-Snob Act, a state-level strategy that mandates all cities to provide 10% of their housing stock as affordable housing. Local authorities can bypass zoning laws to meet this requirement. A linkage program where new commercial developments over 100,000 square feet were required to offset the impact on affordable housing with a fee. Infill development, where parcels of land were sold at extremely low prices to developers to build homes for moderate income families. The above strategies resulted in 23,000 and 6,000 units, 33 million funds were raised. Hanover, Germany. The city of Hanover's population grew in the 1990s, leading to a development in the area of Kronsberg Hill. The urban nexus planning approach was adopted to develop this area, which included innovative concepts towards eco-sustainable design, optimizing resources, mobility for mixed use, socially inclusive communities, and commercial developments. It was a multi-stakeholder integrated plan. For example, designing low-energy houses will be pointless if the builder is unaware of how to construct it. Hanover founded the Kronsberg Environmental Liaison Agency, called KUKA, to assist the urban nexus plan by integrating institutions, services, facilities, and public perception. The first phase of the urban nexus development resulted in 7,000 people in 3,000 dwellings and 15,000 people in 6,000 dwellings in phase 2. Additionally, there was a 60% reduction in CO2 emissions and 90% reduction in energy consumption. Vancouver, Canada, is a rapidly growing city and experienced major housing stress. They approached affordable housing by creating nodes as focal points for jobs and amenities and transport. Their eco-density strategy aimed to spread the city's rapid growth evenly across the city. It encouraged high-density development along transit corridors and near existing services, and facilities. They rezoned single family areas to permit infill housing. A planning strategy enforces developments above a specified density to dedicate 20% as affordable housing in returns for extras in height and floor space and easements in unit size requirements. These strategies resulted in 22,600 additional affordable units. It isn't one policy that makes a difference, it's a combination of several policies, and recommendations for Sydney are bringing in a state level law for a minimum housing stock to be maintained towards affordable housing by relaxing zoning rules and providing incentives to developers, such as done in Vancouver. Charging a fee to commercial developers to offset their impact on housing affordability and using that revenue to construct more housing, as was done in Boston. Liaising agency for communication among the 43 councils, institutions, and the public, similar to KUKA in Hanover. Creating density in an ecological manner by rezoning along main corridors, parks, and services. However, these issues cannot be addressed without firm state planning and federal level support. Let's come together and make Sydney an affordable and inclusive city. Thank you.